It is my exquisite pleasure and also my greatest gratitude to Mr. Ronald McDonald. Any resemblance to the McDonald eatery's mascot, clown mascot, is purely accidental. It is with great pride, exquisite gratitude, and most humble sense of perception that I introduce to you this edition, this limited edition, I guess, written by Mr. Ronald McDonald himself. The working question is called the computable lattice of degrees of being fucked up. It has been published by Springer Science. It's available on the shelves as we speak. And in this work, Mr. Ronald McDonald shows that there does exist a lattice of being fucked up, right? So being fucked up can be partitioned into degrees, which form a lattice. Furthermore, Mr. Ronald McDonald shows that this lattice has an upper bound. Okay, it may not be finite yet. It is bounded above and unbounded below. I wish to add to this that I'm extremely proud of having met Mr. Ronald McDonald myself, and I do admire his. I am extremely fond, and I do admire his sense of courage for signing this monumental work. This work that has advanced humanity and science and everything in between humanity and science. This work has, Mr. Ronald McDonald has an extreme courage to publish this work under his real name. Well done, Ronald McDonald.
If we learn from our mistakes, why are we so reluctant to make them? Well, this is a good question. Often we do learn from our mistakes. If we're learning how to make something, sometimes making it in the wrong way teaches us how to do it in the right way. Sometimes if we're learning to play a sport, just trying it and making all sorts of mistakes shows us how to avoid those mistakes. But we are often very reluctant to make mistakes. Now, when the mistake is very costly, when we get hurt, or when somebody else gets hurt, or when we lose a lot of money, this seems to us to be a huge problem. And that's reasonable. We should be reluctant to make mistakes. But often we want to avoid mistakes because the mistakes will embarrass us, or because we'll feel bad about making those mistakes. Now, the problem is that people are not very good at judging short-term goods versus long-term goods, long-term benefits. The short-term benefit of not being embarrassed seems to us more important often than the long-term benefits of learning something. Now, this is often quite bad and quite destructive. It would be better often if we think about the long term rather than the short term. And we shouldn't overemphasize the importance of the short term, but it's a very natural human tendency. Now, when we're learning things, the best thing to do is to try to make ourselves not worry so much about making mistakes. For example, here at Victoria, when we have students in the classroom, what we try to do is make them feel safe about making mistakes and not feel silly about saying something that turns out to be wrong. In this way, they can learn from those mistakes without feeling like they've given up something. So these short-term costs or short-term harms aren't really very harmful at all.
So do we have free will? My answer is yes, we do. And the reason why we have free will is that we, unlike other creatures, are able to deliberate before we act, to make decisions based on reasons, and most importantly, to make decisions that express our characters, our values, who we really are. When an act expresses who you really are, you can take responsibility for it. You can feel proud of it or ashamed of it. And in the same way, others who can see that your act came from who you are can praise you or blame you or punish you or reward you for what you do. And that kind of being responsible for your act is all, I think, that it takes in order for us to be able to say that your act expresses your own free will. Now, that story about free will doesn't give you something that you might have been hoping for. It doesn't give you what you might call spontaneity. Some people think that in order for an act to be free, it has to come from nowhere, so to speak. It has to be an act that you couldn't have predicted based on knowledge of how the world was before the act took place. But the problem with that idea is that if an act of yours is truly spontaneous, then it doesn't really come from you. You can't explain it as flowing from your character and your values and how they interact with your circumstances. And if you can't explain that about your own act, then you can't take ownership of it. You can't see it as one that you are responsible for. So my answer is yes, we do have free will, even though it turns out that free will is something a little bit different from what you might have expected.